Hello, everyone. A very good morning to you if you're here in the West Coast or if you're here in North America, and a very good evening to you wherever else you are in the world. Hope you're having a great week so far. Welcome to another episode of Narad News. I know there are many other topics that are flooding our news feeds these days, primarily obviously what's happening in Iran, what US and Israel are up to, etc. We will be bringing you that soon, bringing a comprehensive update on the situation and the way we understand it. But for today, decided to go with a happier topic, if you will. I always believe that if you look hard enough, you will find something that you can be happy about. You don't always have to, feed on the negativity of the news portals. And I think whoever is watching this channel is probably watching us because they want to see either issues that affect us Canadians every day, people who want to learn more about Canada's internal politics, how Canada functions as a country, or just news that is positive, especially in the context of Canada and a lot of the times India as well. So, yeah, let's dive right into it, guys. I will pull up I guess the only article for today. And this is not from a news source, this is directly from the Prime Minister's website. I'll link this in the description. So if you want to read this for yourself, go ahead. So Canada and India have essentially reset relations to a large extent through this visit of Prime Minister Carney to India. So I believe PM Carney stayed in India for a total of 4 days. I guess he's still in India. I'm not sure, but anyway, 4 days, 2 days in Mumbai, and then 2 days in New Delhi. And then this is the readout that has come out officially, and this is just yesterday. I pulled it down yesterday as well as soon as it came out because I was looking for some specifics. A lot of news articles. The thing is, they'll all have their own spins. I can't fault them for that. But I wanted to see, okay, what has actually happened versus, you know, how someone else is framing it. So I'll just quickly go down this. This is actually quite landmark, and as we go through this, what you will be able to hopefully see is how hand and glove this is. In my previous live, or well, not the previous one, but the one before that, I had actually mentioned that literally there is no easier relationship to have other than Canada and India, right? Apart from, I guess, Canada and United States, but US is our immediate neighbor. If we look out sort of farther into the wilderness, India is the most aligned partner that Canada could possibly find. And a few, I guess, very predictable reasons for this. Firstly, both are democracies. Both our democracies run in a very similar way because, multiple party system, first past the post way to elect. There are actually sort of, I guess, two lines of governance. Like in India, you have the president's line and then you have the prime minister's line. And in Canada, you have, of course, the prime minister's line and then you also have a governor general. So it's very similarly run in that sense. I would say, obviously, because Canada has a lower population, you don't have the quantum of elections and everything. You simply don't need it. Also, Canada is a developed economy, lots and lots of natural resources available with a very low population. So internal consumption is just not that much. India, on the other hand, largest country in the world, 1.4 billion people. The only major economy, from what I understand, that is still growing in population, and it will grow, I guess, for the next decade or so. And it has aspirations to get in the developed club, and Canada's natural resources, and not just natural resources, just Canadian technology, Canadian products can help India get there, right? Because India, for all the greatness that it is, does not have a huge pile of natural resources sitting in its backyard. Unless there's something undiscovered and then we'll hear news of it. But as of now, from whatever is discovered, India just doesn't have a massive pile of natural resources. So this is a hand in glove relationship. Lots and lots of Canadians of Indian origin exist, myself included, and same same in India, right? Like lots of Canadians visit India every year to get their spiritual awakening or whatever else they might want to be doing there. Although I would definitely point out that uh, I don't know if India is only a hub for spiritual awakening anymore. Lots and lots of technology, lots and lots of AI development being done, cutting edge. India just hosted the world's largest AI summit as well. And we'll see how all the advancements in AI have sort of played into this document. So let's go over this real quick. So I get, as I said, right, population of 1.4 billion, energy demand is increasing faster than anywhere else in the world, equal to that of China and Southeast Asia combined. Now let that sink in. China, second largest population. Okay, some debate around the actual population numbers, but undisputedly second largest population, and Southeast Asia combined, right? So I'm guessing that includes all the other countries in India's neighborhood, and then you can, sort of include your Thailand, Malaysia, and all the other places. I'm guessing Indonesia as well. So that in itself is about 500 million more people, and India's own demands for energy is increasing faster than all of those combined. That's a proud statistic to have as India. And that's also a very strategically viable statistic for Canada, right? Equal to Canada is an energy and agricultural superpower. Yes, cannot deny that. Leader in critical minerals, sure. AI, okay. And advanced manufacturing. Precisely the sectors India is scaling at speed. See, Canada could have been a much larger leader in AI. The father of modern AI, or the person who's considered the father of modern AI, also won the Nobel Prize in 2024. Geoffrey Hinton is a dual citizen, so he's Canadian and British, right? And then Joshua Bengio, again, another Canadian person. I think he's affiliated with McGill, or at least one of the Montreal universities. So I'm not sure why we were not the first ones to get things like ChatGPT, but I guess we had the math, we had the theory, but we just didn't have the companies that have the data, right? And then, of course, goes without saying, there are countless established researchers in the US, most namely Jan LeCun, who came up with something called convolutional neural networks, but I won't go there for today. Canada and India have had a historically strong productive relationship. 2024 total direct Canadian investment in India surpassed 110 billion. So 2024 you could see as the height of the freeze, right? That was taking place between the two countries, and even in such a time, there was, Canadian investment in India accounting for $110 billion. So that itself speaks a lot that, okay, even though the governments are not talking, at least the people were interacting in some form or the other. Obviously, the 2025 figures are not there because I consider 2025 as the pivotal year for Canada, as the reset. And that has been sort of underway since the new government has come in. And of course, this is one of the many things that have happened since then. Now, this agreement will be called Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA, CEPA. Um, Leverage the strengths. Canada and India announced new strategic energy partnership, including LNG, LPG, uranium, solar, and hydrogen. So, guess what, everyone? Everyone who's not Indian and watching this, right? In India, every house still uses LPG gas. There is no induction cooking. There is no coil, the coil based gas ranges. Every Indian household still uses LPG based cooking. Either it's a line coming directly into their house or they are getting a cylinder. And LPGs has a massive demand in India. It's just a part of our culture, right? In fact, a lot of the times when Indians are, condo hunting, house hunting here in Canada, they actually look for spaces which still have the LPG gas connection. It could just be our psychology, but we think that the food just tastes better when you cook on that. I have no way to prove that as true or false, but that's just what the thinking goes, right? So as both our nations, that's fine. Um, Landmark 2.6 billion agreement between Government of India and Saskatoon-based Cameco to supply nearly 22 million pounds of uranium to India for nuclear energy generation 2027 to 2035. There we go. Finally, so the uranium deal is out. India is a legitimate part of there is a treaty, and then it allows India to use radioactive material for whatever it wants. That deal happened when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was running India, and of course George W. Bush was running the US. So, two MOUs to intensify cooperation on critical minerals and energy resources. Of course, collaboration in solar, wind, biofuels, and hydropower. Yes, Canada has to be there in all alternative energy initiatives. And of course, we are also sitting on the largest, almost like maybe the third largest pile of natural resources possible. So, cool. Intensified agreement engagement on LPG with the aim to conclude Canada's first long-term LPG agreement with India. Aim to conclude, wishy-washy language. I hope things move fast on this. As I mentioned, India's LPG market is massive, and with a growing middle class, it's only going to increase. And the combine that with the fact that this is the only major economy in the world that's still increasing in population, this is a win-win-win-win-win on all five sides for India and for Canada. Now, on the educational front, I want to point out these ones. Dalhousie University Innovation Campus in partnership with Indian Institute of Technology, Tirupati. So IITs are basically, when it comes to technology, engineering, and STEM education, IITs are like the Ivy Leagues of India. For those who may not know, Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Tirupati, as well as University of Toronto and McGill University Centers of Excellence in India. It would be great to see U of T and McGill centers in India. Indian youth is thirsty for education, and then Indian youth is also looking to get into the workforce. And if Canadian universities can set up campuses there, this is not something new, right? NYU has a campus in Abu Dhabi. In fact, I think Northeastern has a small little thing going on in Vancouver as well. Like, you see this all the time. Like, even Vancouver's SFU, they have multiple campuses. One in Burnaby, and then one in Surrey. And then in downtown. So this is pretty common for universities to have satellite campuses, second campuses, just to attract more talent to come into their centers to learn, right? Of course, this leads to research, and then with research comes new technology, more leverage in the long run. So there's absolutely no downside to this. Of course, Canadian universities are also sort of struggling with the cap on international students. So if universities have campuses abroad, that can definitely help, balance the books better. Greater student faculty exchanges and research collaboration. 300 funded Indian student researcher positions, as well as up to 100 million from U of T for up to 200 fully funded scholarships for Indian students and outbound opportunities for Canadian students. Lovely, right? Not only supporting people to come in, but also supporting people who want to go out, explore India, just do a foreign exchange of some sort, learn a new culture, and just get exposed to a very wildly diverse society like India, right? 10 million in Indo-Pacific scholarships and fellowships under Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy. So this is again government funded, 10 million, not a small amount. Support for over 85 Canadian graduate students and researchers to study in and collaborate with leading Indian academics. So India has a great ecosystem of research. I would say there is scope for improvement there, but needless to say, when we compare the scale, Canada has probably cutting edge research facilities, but just the quantum is lower just because fewer people. In India, you'll get the quantum, but you may also deal with a little bit of bureaucracy along the way. So overall, it would still be a net win-win on both sides, just because there is the relationship is just complementary out of the box, right? The last bit here, HCL Technologies, India's third largest IT services company, will expand its operations in Canada, increasing its workforce by 75% by 2030. This should feel like a breath of fresh air for all Canadians. The one thing we are always looking for is jobs. In Canada, the average time, let's say you start hunting. If you're dedicated to it full time, it takes about 6 to 8 months to land something. Yes, there are exceptions where, someone lands something in a month, 2 months. You hear such stories. But on average, at least what I've been hearing for the past 4-5 years is, okay, be mentally prepared for 6 months to land something. Now there can be a case made around, okay, you're not doing this right, or you're not networking enough, or you're not tailoring your resume correctly. The fact of the matter is you are up against an AI system. That is your first point where you need to impress them. If you can bypass it through having a network, well and good. And that's the preferred method of doing it, right? But ultimately, a company like HCL, if they increase its workforce by 75%, I don't know what their current numbers are. I just know that they do have a presence because, they have an office, they have a building. I have a friend who used to actually work there. So I know they exist, and I know this is not fluff, essentially. To catalyze new investment in Canada, PM Carney met with business leaders across various sectors. So that's what he was doing in Mumbai. For those who may not be aware, Mumbai is the financial capital of Canada, same as financial capital of India, basically similar to Toronto, right? Prime Minister Carney met with business leaders across various sectors, including technology, manufacturing, and energy, with a combined market capitalization of approximately 600 billion. Look, I don't know how much a meeting really does, because these meetings happen a lot. Like, PM Modi travels abroad, even he meets industry leaders. Prime Minister Carney went to India, he met with Indian industry leaders. I think the one word of caution, or something to just dampen the excitement, if you will, let not bureaucracy make this so slow. And this is true for both the countries. and as someone who has had an experience in sort of dealing with bureaucracy on both sides of this exchange, let not bureaucracy slow the momentum to a point that it becomes non-existent. And that is often what happens, that even if the political will can be mustered, the the non-elected class will just slow things down. Paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. Get an iPad, people. That's all I can say. Just get a bloody iPad. Or make your own iPad if you're worried about security on Apple's devices. Like, I don't know what else to say to this. That's what usually happens. Lot of excitement, lot of potential. There is a lot of potential in a lot of meetings. The problem is no one wants to sit and operationalize and execute. Execution is where all the hard work is. And unfortunately, hard work is something that, well, the less I say, the better. Canada and India will increase defense cooperation. So it might interest everyone to learn that India is actually on a path to become self-reliant when it comes to defense. It does not have the the most cutting edge of technologies, but I think everything that is not cutting edge, India is able to sort of, foot its own bill in that sense and produce its own equipment. I'm not too well versed with all the categories that go into defense, but ammunition and protective vest, protective gear and everything, India is producing its own. I would love to see Canada produce its own things in the near future, but of course something like that won't happen overnight. And Canada also has to remember that CUSMA is coming up for review, so can't, the two baskets in which Canada can put a fair number of its eggs are, well, US and India, a little bit in China, as we have seen in the recent past. But let's be honest, for whatever all these deals come together, the US basket is still going to be pretty much the heaviest one. The proportionality will decrease, but it's still going to be the heaviest. And that's something that Canadians just have to contend with. It's too close. The US as a landmass is just too close for us to think that we can trade enough with the rest of the world and not have a trading relationship with the US and still be successful. Like, we'll still make it. No worries on that front. It just is not as economically viable as just, shipping goods, 50 kilometers south from most Canadian centers. Maybe not 50, fine, 100, right? Leaders agreed to advance bilateral cooperation on security and law enforcement. So if you guys remember, Honorable Anita Anand and NSA Ajit Doval, they met earlier in February. They had a nice smiling picture together. We covered that one on the Wasted Wanderers podcast, so please go check that one out. But yeah, they were definitely, not just enjoying dinners, right? Of course, with such a meeting, we'll never find out what the contents of the discussion were. But as I covered 2 lives ago, the basic statement from the Canadian government on this is, look, PM Carney is in India. We are engaging with the Indians. Everything must have stopped for us to be able to make such a to take such a step. Now, that's not 100% confirmation, but that's about as much as we can expect to get when it comes to issues of national security, when it comes to bilateral cooperation on security and law enforcement. Now, it points out illegal flow of drugs, particularly fentanyl precursors, and transnational organized criminal networks. We all know what this means. I'm not going to bring that up. But in my opinion, this is the first time I've seen in a Canadian readout, in calling a spade, right? Sorry guys. Yeah. This is the first time I'm seeing something being labeled as accurately as this. Transnational organized criminal networks. In Hindi we have a saying, "Samajhdar ko ishara hi kafi hai." All of you are very, very intelligent people. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Alright guys, I'll quickly end with this quote on this whole deal by the PM. India is the fastest growing major economy and a powerhouse of global commerce and technology. In a rapidly changing world, Canada and India are transforming their economies to be more diversified, more independent, and more resilient. Our strategic partnership and the speed at which we are working to unleash its potential in energy, talent, and AI is the result of two confident, ambitious nations who want to build the future together. So there is an admittance that we are not going to let bureaucracy slow this down. And of course, confident, ambitious nations. I like the verbiage. But yeah, couldn't have summed it up better myself. So thank you for that, PM Carney. And yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I'm going to wrap this one up and see you guys soon in the next episode. Please do, you know what? Let me get shameless. Please do like, share, and subscribe and spread our word. If you like what you see, please do leave a comment on what you liked, what you didn't like. You wanna cuss us out, go for it. But do give us a subscribe. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.